So the fender's off, got everything cleaned out. You can see where the old fender was rubbing and making some marks. Now we'll get it cleaned all up, get stuff primed. And it's supposed to sit nicely. Shameless plug for Metalcloak there. Right up against here so that rock bounces off here, slides along the side of everything here. So get that on there, we'll dry fit them, and we're gonna paint them. We're gonna prime them. They've been cleaned, sealed. We'll show you that too. Here's the driver fender, rear fender. Let's see, got the primer coat on. Just shot it, so there's a little bit of reflection on there. But I'm going to sand it, and then we're going to do it with the bed liner. So everything's looking pretty good. These things are not easy to get on. They line up, but they aren't perfect by any means. I really shouldn't say that. There's like 2 or 3 holes that are off a bit. So, for instance, on the passenger side, I had to make this hole a little bit bigger because if this is set first, there were a couple of them down here that didn't line up right. So, a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of time, a little bit of elbow grease, but getting it all done. So, we'll do another one with the coating on it. All right, everything's off. Nut certs are in. This one was a bear, and then I just shot everything with some black paint along it just to seal it up. And then of course the obligatory shameless paint that square red so when we put it over there the Metalcloak M will be right there. So no shameless advertising. It is not difficult but not easy to put in. So far what I've found is when you put this ball in first and then you try and line everything up, we got a problem with this one. You can see the bottom there. You got a problem with this one, and then we got a problem with this one. Everything else, these holes that just use nuts and bolts, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one down here that you drill, they're all fine. But that's when you put this in. And I'll show you the back of this ball. I had to drill it out because I had to get it so that the rest of these things moved and lined up with this. And that's going to be a bear. But it's all now done and primed. I'm going to sand it, and then I'll paint it with the bed liner. The bed liner I'm using is this Herculiner bed liner. As much as I'm averse to going to certain stores and getting this stuff, one of those big box stores has it $4 cheaper than any place else, and you can see I shot this box with it and it's great. There's not a ton of texture on it, so that's what I kind of like. And so with these fenders it'll be really cool. As you can see, I got to replace my front fenders because they got a little rash and pushed off and broken on those things the other day. So we're going to get the other stuff cleaned up and we'll get this one on. Okay, we got them all primed. I got 2 coats of primer. I got prime coat, sand, another prime coat, and I'm going to sand the top side. You're looking at the inside. I'm using the Rust-Oleum primer. It's in a dark gray, as you can see. What I'm not going to do, I'm going to use my paint mask machine, and I'm going to mask off the outside that's going to show. So I'm going to mask off basically the top here all the way around and into here, and then I'm going to spray the back side of this and seal up everything inside, all these little nooks and crannies where moisture can get into. Here you can see that right there. So we'll get all this sealed up. I'm not too worried about the roughness. This stuff goes on great. It's really sandable because of course it is. Use on metal, fiberglass, fast drying. It's wet sandable. I'm not wet sanding it, but I'm only gonna do the outside. You can see I got a little bit of a flaw here that I will sand down just a bit, but nobody's gonna be under this thing looking at it, and they're gonna get scratched anyway. But all right, I'll show you the masking in a second. Okay, this is the passenger masked up. You can see I'm gonna leave the fine line on the underside. Show you the top. Here's the top, taped up. You can see I'm leaving a fine line here. The reason I'm doing that is when I spray it, it'll overspray here and leave a lip, and then, you know, whatever moisture might get down in between it, hopefully that lip will act as a little bit of a deterrent, push water away. Anyway, it's all nice and tight. Gonna do the other one, and then I'll go out, put them in the sun, let them heat up for a little bit, and then I'll spray them. Okay, all sealed up. Out in the sun, just to heat up a bit. I'll let them sit out here for about 20 minutes or so, just to get warm. I'll wipe them down, and then we'll spray it. See how it turns out. Okay, been heating up, about 30 minutes in. Again, same thing I used on my truck box, that Herculiner. Kind of like this stuff. So I've got 4 cans. I'm going to do 2 in here, just get the sides. I'm going to do a bunch of coats on it, let it sit out here in the sun. As most of you know, I'm in Phoenix, so it's going to be about 70 today. A little bit of wind, but skies are clear as they always are. So here we go. Before we go, I want to just give you a quick look at some of the gaps. I don't know how well you can see that gap right there, but we're gonna see how this stuff fills it in, because that's where the rust is gonna happen. And any of these down here, see how it all works out. 2 coats so far, still wet. You can see a bit of maybe that crack starting to fill in, so it's looking pretty good so far. What you're gonna see with this stuff, and you might be able to see a sag right there, is that when you're spraying this, you need to spray it from a good, I know you can see my hand here, I'm a good 18 inches away to get a good coat. You get it too close, it just blasts and it'll start to sag. The good thing is that it lays down pretty darn flat, which is why I'm doing the undersides first, and then I'm going to do the tops in a different way. But don't get too close, shake the can often. It'll keep the texture going on it. If you turn the can, you know, facing it down like that, you're not going to get a lot of texture. Tilt it up, get the texture coming out, shake it, go back in, try and keep the head as flat as you can. There's no real way unless you hang it, which you'll see I'll do with the tops. I'm going to hang it from, like I've done other stuff, off my ceiling or my eave of the house on a hanger. But it's looking pretty good so far. When I take the tape off after a couple more coats, but this is almost empty, 1 can. I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to go over and do 2 more coats on this underside, because this is what's going to get hit and, you know, rain. The rest of it outsides will get scratched, and I'll paint those as I go, but I want the underside sealed up good. That's it. All right, all the tape was peeled. I'm on first coat of this. You can see how it's nicely sealing up that gap. This stuff is great. Weather's perfect for this. I'm all sitting nicely on there. See the undersides? Turned out great. I have 4 coats of that on the underside. So we're going to do another 2 more on here, let them sit for 24 hours, maybe 48, and we'll install them and show that. Okay, getting ready to put it on. It's all nicely textured. Shameless red see-through for Metalcloak. Got all the holes in where they're supposed to be. Let me tell you, folks, get a nut cert tool. The nut cert bolt that comes with the kit, and that is, you know, something you do with a ratchet. I don't have it here. It's probably over there on the other side. But that nut cert bolt is worthless. A nut cert tool from Amazon for 35 bucks. This thing, when you put it in here, just the sheer leverage of the handle from the wrench and the socket makes it move all kinds of ways. The nut cert tool goes straight in, you squeeze the handles on it, and it works phenomenally. So you can see it doesn't pull out anything either when you do it the right way. So, and it takes 1/10 of the time. So get the nut cert tool. I'm going to attach the front here first with the long bolt into here, and then I'm going to make sure everything lines up along this. And if need be, that's what this pry bar is for down there. I can use that, and then you can actually push in the edge of this a little bit to make it fit, and the bolts all the way around. So we'll see how that goes. All right, passengers in. A couple of things that I noticed as I was doing it. I mentioned that this was difficult to get in. So is this. Get some light in here. This one right here, super difficult to get in for some reason. So this is the first, second, third bolt in here. Just didn't want to line up. I don't know why, can't tell you why, I just didn't want to. Everything else across here lined up. This right here, I'm going to paint this a little black, but it's shameless Metalcloak, guys. This took a crowbar that I put up against this bumper, and then I pushed this in. That got these to line up nicely. But on the passenger side, if you have a JL at least, I don't know about JKs or anything else like that, under here, this whole section has a bunch of wires and stuff in there, and I don't know what they're for. So I took pieces of the fender, I cut it up, used the tabs with the bolts there, used some of the extra push pins I got here, and fashioned this. I made this a little longer so it stuck out about, oh, I don't know, 1 inch. And then I trimmed it in a couple of spots here to make it bend up under this thing. I don't care. The tire might hit it at some point and we'll see. It'll just push it in, but don't really care. But what it's going to do is protect all that plastic, or those wires that are up in here. You can see they start here, they go up here, and then there's some that run over the top here, and they run into the back here. So anyway, this thing's in, and it's a freaking beautiful beast. I'm gonna probably shoot it one more time, but you can see the way it looks on it. So real quick, in terms of measurement off the side, it's probably 4 3/4 inches off there. And you get the point. Anyway, that lines up nicely with the back bumper. So, let's see how that kind of works. So all in all, super happy. That's passenger side. It took me about an hour to get in, get tight, and get done. To get everything screwed in, about 2 hours for this bumper. So if everything lined up perfectly, it'd be a lot better, but you know, you gotta take into account how some of this may have moved. But gonna test it out this weekend. All right, finished product. Got it all in. Got everything resealed. Okay, here's the inner fender liner again. So, took the old fender liner, cut it and trimmed it a couple of places here, and it fits up in there really nice. It isn't moving anywhere. A couple of my ideas. Then I masked it and painted it. So let's do the Metalcloak reveal, shall we? There it is. So, shameless promotion. Just subtle enough. Really raises them up a lot. 37s are coming. Here's the other side. Show you how I masked it off. Just to tighten it up a bit and get some of the marks off all around the sides and the back, where I had to lever that pry bar in there to move that in. So on the inside, another reveal. There we go. But we were missing one bolt, and I left these two that use the connections for the inner plastic fender from the OEM stuff. So I leave these two bolts undone, there and there, so that you can attach it on there. I was one short in the bolt count in the bag, so luckily I had another one here, but I'll replace that probably later. Structurally, I'm not sure that makes that big of a difference, but it's still a strong bolt. None of these are grade 8s as far as I can tell. They're not the right color. But you can see how I just mask it off just to get everything the right way and just keep all the seams sort of plastic sealed in there. That's it. Done deal. Overall, I'd give it, you know, a 2.5 in terms of install. I had to modify a couple of the holes a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch or less, just to get them to fit right. But other than that, really, really solid stuff. I wish they'd have given me the ratchet hex head with the kit, but they didn't. I went out and bought that. It cost another $6. I got $25 in $35 in bed liner and primer, and I let that stuff sit for a week, so I'm really happy. We're gonna take this out and we're gonna wheel it tomorrow, see if we can't rub them up against the side of something, because we're gonna be close. Terminator tomorrow in Phoenix. That's it.